Hello and welcome to the morning after show. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who is over on my right. Jared, how you doing, man? It's a very very exciting day for the both of us. I think.
Yes, it is. Opening day. Masters are going on at the same time. It's fantastic. We just finished recording a show, our first podcast of the entire season. So yeah, it's a great day. We stayed up really late last night, you later than I,
Yeah.
and the coffee's flowing this morning.
Yeah, dude, I still haven't had my first cup. I'm this energized purely off of the adrenaline rush of opening day. That's all that's going through me right now. That's gonna keep me going for at least this hour or 30-minute show here for the morning after, and then I'll probably need like 2 cups of coffee. But for right now, we're surviving off of adrenaline from opening day. Shout out to everyone that's talking in the chat. What's going on? Hello to Little Italy, Bacon23, Brian14353, Mills, D Ruff, Molten Lava, a whole bunch of MLB subs in there. I love to see it. I love that they're excited for opening day. Hockey fan even saying good morning. What's going on, everyone? Hope you are having a good Thursday morning. No, is it Thursday? It is
Yes.
Thursday. The days just have flown this week. I mean, it has been a weird week for sure, a busy week without a doubt. But we have plenty to talk about today. Get to talk about the Masters, like you said. Tiger Woods showed up, which I think kind of surprised the both of us and should be a fun thing to talk about. We get to talk about the NBA and the absolute mess it is right now, and how last night was a very, very interesting night of NBA. Then we get to talk about some MLB. It's not even spring training anymore. It's MLB. It's opening day. I need to go change that in the topics. But let's kick it off, Jared. Let's talk about the Masters and how are things going this morning? Because I haven't even taken a look yet.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest news obviously is that Twitter's going nuts about Tiger being back. Somebody just bet 15 grand on Tiger Woods to win the Masters with a potential payout of $765,000. So there's that.
Wow.
But yeah, he's officially back. Twitter's going nuts about it. I guess let's just start there. I mean, we I don't think anybody even expected him to play golf ever again. Nonetheless, be able to walk less than like 8 months after this accident. So it's amazing. The practice session from this week was incredible. If you guys haven't seen that picture, go ahead and look at it. I think SportsCenter posted it. It is absolutely unbelievable the amount of people that watched him tee off for some of those practice shots this week. Yeah, I mean the Masters are a special time, and normally we don't have the overlap of MLB opening day with that, but it happened to be this way, and I guess we can thank the MLB for that.
Yeah, definitely can thank the MLB for that. I guess if they didn't have to postpone the season because they're a bunch of idiots, we would have had a normal opening day and not had to deal with the Masters at the same time. But we have to deal with both of them at the same time. We kind of talked about it. I mean, from a viewership perspective, I feel like the Masters probably gets more views than opening day, which is it's a weird vibe to have for opening day for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we were talking about this last night and how the Masters should crush opening day from a viewership perspective, especially with Tiger being there. Yeah, Bacon says they were going wild from just putting on the practice green. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing.
Insane.
The story that just the fact that obviously his magical run even a few years ago was amazing. So the fact
Yeah.
that he was able to double down and do it again, coming back from easily his worst setback, and he's had a lot of them over his career. This is definitely the most impressive to me.
Without a doubt, the most impressive. Let's talk about the. Is there anything else you want to talk about the Masters? I'm not a big golf guy, so like I don't have much to contribute here except for I'm excited to see what Tiger Woods can do.
I think it's an awesome. Well, I probably won't have much to say until tomorrow, and I think the way I always approach golf is you set it and forget it on Thursday, and look at it until, especially for DFS,
Yeah.
until at least Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. I just watch on Sunday. Like that's when you should be watching the Masters. You should be watching on Sunday when it all gets good. Let's talk about the NBA and recap what happened last night because man, it was an insane night of NBA action. Let's talk about this Knicks and Nets game because this one was the most interesting to me. This is one that I had a bold take on, saying that it would stay close all the way through. It didn't look like that at first. Knicks were up by 17 at the half. Knicks were up by nearly 20 points in the third quarter, and then Kevin Durant did Kevin Durant things. Got a triple
Yep.
double. scored I think 20 points in the fourth quarter alone. Like he was a man possessed last night, and the Nets walk away with this win. I guess my question to you is that, like, how concerning is it that the Nets were down to the Knicks by 20 points when they clearly know they need to win? And I just I don't know. It's concerning to me that they were down at all in this game because you shouldn't be down to the Knicks.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I mean, the Nets are still relying on their two stars to play immense amount of minutes again, and I just don't know how much that's going to wear on them eventually. And it's coming off of this Durant saying that his ankle injury, his injuries affected the team's trajectory, and I think it's much more than that. But 42 minutes for Durant, 43 minutes for Kyrie Irving. Nobody else sniffs even 10 minutes of that. The next with Bruce Brown at 33. They're not going to be able to handle that. I mean, maybe they will because they are superstars, but like I don't know how long they can actually handle that for.
I don't feel like it's going to be for two playoff series. They're going to be like you're not going to be able to handle that for two playoff series, potentially even three playoff series at this point in time. Like it's probably too much run. So I don't know. Should be interesting to watch that team, but a good win by them at the end of the day. It was a good fourth quarter comeback. They got the job done, and that was an important win for them. It keeps them tied with the Hawks for that eighth seed, and
Yep.
they have the tiebreaker. So they keep ahead in the eighth seed, and they're potentially hosting that play-in tournament. So should be fun to keep track of them throughout their last two games of the season. Let's talk about the Celtics and the Bulls, who got the face off last night. We talked about this one. This one was really interesting and really kind of fucky at the end of the day. I mean, this matchup was weird. We didn't know where to go DFS wise. I faded it personally, and I was happy to. Celtics ended up blowing out the Bulls, 117-94 in this one. I, I I mean, Celtics obviously good performance, right? But I feel like we're highlighting more just that the Bulls are not a good basketball team right now, and this completely puts them out of the running for the fifth seed. They are now locked into that sixth seed. What do you think about them in the sixth seed? Because this potentially gives them a matchup against the Bucks or the Celtics, and if they face off against the Celtics, they're getting swept in the first round. I feel pretty confident in saying that.
I would even go as far as to say they would get swept by the Bucks too. Maybe they get gentlemen swept, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that my take reigns true, and I know that I don't want to I don't want to just like trounce all over injuries because that's not fair. But every team goes through that, so I will say that the Bulls. It's clear. I think I don't even have to say anything. I think I just will have to say, look at their record against the top teams in the league, and that'll answer all your questions.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let's move on to the last game. This one's interesting just because of the nature of this game. Suns and Clippers. Final score was 113-109. This is not what I would have expected, though, considering the runs that the Clippers went on. They beat out the Suns by like I think the score. Hold on, let me pull this up so I have it in front of me. Yep. Clippers beat the Suns in the second quarter alone, 34-9. And then the Suns came back with a group of absolute scrubs in the fourth quarter and beat the Clippers 48-26, Jared. This Suns team had a 48 point, they almost put up 50 points in a quarter. Like what is this Suns team? I can't believe that the Clippers played everyone too. Like Clippers guys got substantial minutes. We saw Reggie Jackson play 30. We saw Paul George play 28. We saw Norman Powell even get a good amount of run. He was their top scorer last night. Like this is insane to see that the Suns were able to come back in this one. And what just a absolute weird game for both sides.
Super weird game. The fourth quarter basically says it all. Like, yeah, it's 48 points in one quarter, 9 in another. It's a wild, wild game. And I think that just the fact that, I think it was either FanDuel or it was the actual Suns account themselves highlighted their player of the game, which was Ishmael Wainwright. So that's April NBA in a nutshell.
Yeah, definitely April NBA in a nutshell, without a doubt. All right, let's keep this thing rolling. Let's talk about the thing that I think everyone showed up for. Opening day is here. We're here. We finally have some regular season MLB going on today. A good group of games, not the games that we expected to have today, just because we were expecting a few more. But nature ended up being nature, and we got a few of these games canceled. So we don't have the full itinerary for today. But the games that are going on are Cubs versus the Brewers. Cubs are at home. Guardians versus the Royals with with the Royals at home, Pirates and Cardinals with the Cards at home, Mets and Nationals with the Nationals at home, Braves and Reds with the Braves at home, and then Angels and Astros with the Angels at home. And then last but not least, the Diamondbacks and Padres with the Diamondbacks at home. Which game are you most excited for here? Because I think I have my answer pretty clearly. I'm going to try not to base it off of DFS. I'm going to go for like actual excitement to watch the game. Which one is it for you?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's not really fair, I guess, but I will easily pick my
Yeah.
own team.
Okay.
But
Fair
I will
enough.
say I think late night fireworks should be fun. I can't wait to cover it on the podcast in a little bit.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We're about to go live for the member only show in 30 minutes, so it's coming up right around the corner. I'm personally the most excited to see Angels and Astros. I'm excited to see what Otani looks like. Excited to see Trout come back in full strength. Excited to see what this Angel team can look like in full strength, and hoping
Yep.
to see the Astros lose because that's my favorite thing. The Nets are the Astros of my world. I absolutely hate this team with a passion, so I'm wanting to see Astros lose today. And I'm excited to watch that game. That game's going to be a lot of fun. Outside of DFS, it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't have much DFS interest in that one. Let's talk about some other opening day news. We have an opening day trade, which I don't think I've seen in the past 5 years, an opening day trade. But we found out just about 30 minutes ago that there was going to be a trade for Chris Paddock. Trying to pull up the actual trade because I don't have it in front of me. But it was. I'm looking. Maybe I don't have it at all. Do you know what the Chris Paddock trade was? Like what the terms of it was?
No, I just came across some New York Yankees news, so I
Oh,
was
spicy.
anyway. Yeah, okay. Here we go. The Twins are requiring Chris Paddock and Emilio Pagan from the Padres in exchange for Taylor Rogers. So, yeah, I think so. The Pagan Paddock thing was a package before. It was supposed to be for Dominic Smith of the Mets. The Mets declined that trade, and then now they were able to get both of those guys for Taylor Rogers. So I actually think that this works because the Padres, after acquiring Shawn Mania, are now they were kind of one pitcher out of things, and I don't think that they wanted to run a rotation of six. So this makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, Taylor Rogers is a solid reliever to add to that bullpen. So, kind of solidifying that bullpen for them. And, I think it's a good guy to get for Taylor Rogers. And like you said, Paddock was the guy left out. Like they fully filled out their starting rotation. It's a dominant starting rotation at the end of the day, as long as Clevenger can stay healthy. And so Paddock was kind of that last guy out. I just saw something that the Twins have been wanting Chris Paddock literally forever. And now they
Really?
get him with 3 years of team control. That's a lot of years of team control. And if Paddock can at all pan out to be, a number two, a number three starter, that's a great deal for them.
Wow. I mean, I didn't know that they were that sought after him for a while, so that makes a lot of sense. Brent Rooker also goes to the Padres for what it's worth too. He's
Oh,
part of the deal.
that's a big bat for them too. I like that trade for the Padres honestly a lot. I like it for both sides. I think it works out pretty well for both sides on that deal. Does this open up a spot for Gore? I don't think it does open up a spot for Gore. I think they're still filled out there. So it should be interesting. Brent Rooker, wow, that's a pretty loaded deal. It should be.
Yeah,
Do you think we get more of these? Like, do you think we see more of these like early season trades since we did have such a delayed CBA?
maybe. I wouldn't expect too many, but yeah, we could see another one or two.
Yeah, should be interesting to keep an eye on. Anything else that we want to talk about for opening day, Jared?
I want to. We have a lot of takes today, and we have a lot of shows to cover. So I'm trying to save some juice for everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. I mean, How do you think this Braves lineup's going to work? By the way, we just got the first lineup of the day in the
Oh,
Cubs,
spicy.
which was cool to see. It's like a morning, or a Christmas morning type of event.
Yeah.
The Cubs starting lineup. We'll get back to the Braves in a second. They ended up starting Suzuki sixth in the lineup. So it's
Hmm.
going to be Ortega, Madrigal, Contreras, Happ, Schwindel, Suzuki, Hayward, Wisdom, and Horner.
Interesting. That's
So,
I mean, about what I expected, kind of, but um,
like six, basically what they were running in August and September of last year, but maybe worse.
man, that's kind of really ugly. I didn't expect it to be that ugly, but now that I'm looking at it, it definitely is that ugly. So, should be interesting to see what that Cubs team can do against your boy Corbin Burns today. Um, yeah, there's a lot to talk about today, and I do want to save a lot of the DFS stuff for some of the members. But do we want to maybe cover one game here? Like we're gonna go game by game on the member only podcast. Do we want to cover at least one of the games here on the morning after show?
Sure. Why don't we cover the game that's going to be on national television in the Cincinnati and Atlanta?
Yeah, this one's on ESPN2. So, really making it to the big time over there for Cincinnati, I guess. This one should be interesting. You have Max Fried facing off against Tyler Malley on the other side. Um, give me your thoughts on Max Fried because we kind of talked about him on our first podcast of the day, and now you get him facing off against a Cincinnati team that definitely looks worse than they did last year. You lose a couple of key pieces on this team.
Yep, they lose Jesse Winker, they lose Castellanos, they lose Eugenio Suarez, and the lineup doesn't look as good as it used to. And I just think that Fried playing in, they're playing in Atlanta today, kind of like their opening day / World Series celebration of the offseason. And yeah, I think that they have quite a bit to prove, more so the batters than Max Fried, but I still think having him there as their opening day starter is huge for them because normally they would have started Charlie Morton probably in this spot. So, yeah, Max Fried getting in there. I think it's going to be an awesome spot for him, and I can't wait to talk about him in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, should be a really fun podcast to talk about him, talk about this matchup for him, because like I said, Cincinnati's a completely new look team now. Losing out on Jesse Winker, losing on Castellanos. There's a couple of key pieces that make this lineup a little bit weaker. So it should be fun to talk about. Let's talk about the Atlanta side, or at least the Atlanta hitters facing off against Tyler Malley. Malley comes in with an exit of 4.08 last year and a really good K rate at 27%. What are you looking forward to here on this side of the ball?
Yeah, I think that this is, again, like I said just a second ago, this is a prove it spot for this Braves team. I think that while they come in pretty touted heavily for another potential long, deep playoff run, they don't have Freddie Freeman and they don't have Ronald Acuna just yet. So I think that this is a spot where they might have to prove themselves, and a guy that definitely has to prove himself on his first game in a new uniform on a massive deal. Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman's replacement. Interesting spot for him against Malley. Right now, I'm looking at like this game actually has a bunch of juice on Underdog, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I just think this is a huge spot for Olson, and he can either implode or he can step up and show that he is the replacement that they got him for their MVP.
Yeah, definitely. It should be interesting to see what this looks like at the end of the day with Olsen because it could either go really well or it could go very poorly depending on how he plays with his new team. Last thing I want to talk about with opening day. This is less of an opening day thing and more just of an overall interesting topic with baseball. We had Ronald Acuna go live on Instagram last night
Yes. Yes.
and shed some very interesting light on their relationship with Freddie Freeman. And, he said that he won't miss Freddie Freeman. They had a lot of friction. He couldn't talk to him. He was overbearing. Freddie Freeman didn't care when Ronald Acuna got plunked by the Marlins. Like, a lot of interesting stuff to where it's like, all right, so it was kind of confusing why Freddie Freeman left. It makes a lot more sense now.
Oh yeah, it does. And the drama was very spicy. I was kind of hoping that it could have been a perfect storm if Acuna actually was suiting up today to play. That would have been awesome. But when he comes back, I think the narrative is very very real for him, and he could win depending when he comes back. Could win Most Improved Player or Comeback Player of the Year. So I'm stoked for it. I love it, and I think that it's a very interesting situation because Freddie Freeman, from a national audience position, one of the nicest guys or portrayed nicest guys in the
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah, seriously, he's always been seen as that nice guy. I mean, I specifically remember, I think it was after like a home run derby appearance from him. Like he was talking to the reporter, and you just think like, oh, what a nice guy. And to see that he had beef
Hmm.
with Acuna, just kind of, absolutely shocked me last night. So that's something to keep up on. And if those two face off against each other, you got to narratives aren't something we really cover a ton in MLB. It's more of an NBA thing, but it feels certainly like a potential narrative that could drive those guys to play their best in their respective roles when they face off against each other. But let's move on. Let's talk about our new sponsor in Underdog in the dog days of spring, soon to be the dog days of summer, but we're not quite there yet. Here, it's going to replace NHL blind dogs. I know everyone is so sad to see NHL blind dogs end up leaving. And I know, you guys are going to miss NHL blind dogs a lot, but it's never coming back. It's never returning. And I think we're all happy for that, or at least Jared and I are very happy for that. And now we get to talk about some potential dog bets, underdog bets, and over-unders that we like over on their site. So, Jared, without further ado, let's give me your favorite underdog bet.
Yeah, I like a lot of this stuff, and again, I can get into more details on the member only podcast. We're going to be sharing some underdog thoughts as we kind of sporadically talk about the MLB slate. We'll also talk about it a little bit on 30 to lock here before the FanDuel lock today, this afternoon. There's a big chunk of props that came out overnight, and I
Yeah.
haven't gotten a chance to look over all of them quite yet. But I did notice we talked about this Atlanta Cincinnati game. There are a ton of Atlanta props. I'll skip over that for right now, but I want to go to a spot that I really like tonight. You'll hear about it on the member only podcast. You'll hear about it on our other podcast that we're about to announce soon. And I'm going to go with Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres going up against Madison Bumgarner. I like the total bases for Machado over 1.5 a lot.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that, it's a really solid spot. And, it should be a good spot for him against Madison Bumgarner. It's a good matchup. It's a good ballpark. I like the take. My take or my bet that I'm going with, we're going with the over for Francisco Lindor at half a run. I think he gets a run
Wow.
easily in this game. He gets on base. I was tempted to take 1.5 total bases. I was going back and forth. And honestly, if you want to stack them, I don't mind it. I think it's a pretty solid stack there. But I think that at the end of the day, a run's more guaranteed. He gets on base, and then Pete Alonso, I don't know, someone in the top of that lineup ends up
Yep.
hitting him in because they are just absolutely stacked. So Lindor, over a half a run, book it. I like your pick. I like my pick. You put them both together, you can get 3x on that bet. So, maybe that's something that you potentially do. If you're not signed up with Underdog Sports, Jared, do you have the link by any chance? Can we throw that in the
Oh,
chat?
I will definitely. I'll share it, and I'll also share our props here as we're talking about this. By
Look
the
at
way,
that.
just got another starting lineup from the Brewers, and that's probably the last one we're going to get for a couple hours. But we have lineups. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. It's exciting. While you're writing down those props, I'll read off this Brewers lineup that we just got. Colton Wong leading off. Willie Adames in the 2-hole. Interesting. Yelich in the 3-hole. McCutcheon in the 4. Telez in the 5-hole. Hunter Renfroe in the 6. Narvaez in the 7. Lorenzo Kane in the 8-hole, and then Peterson in the 9-hole. Are you surprised at all by Willie Adames in the 2-hole? That seems a little high, doesn't it?
They've been putting him in that area, but yeah, I can. It's not that surprising to me.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Jared, let's get out of here. Give me your final thoughts before we do, though.
Yep. Final thoughts. We this is our second show of the day. We're about to go live on our third in 20 minutes for
Yep.
the members only MLB podcast, and then we'll be back for 30 to lock, and that is at 30 minutes before the slate locks on FanDuel. Exact time for that is 1:50 p.m. on Twitch Eastern time. So you can go while you guys are looking at this and waiting for me to type on this underdog stuff. You can look at our schedule actually on Twitch, and you should be able to see that we have a scheduled plan. I'll have to update today's, but it'll normally be accurate. So it's again 1:50 Eastern time for a 2:20 Eastern time lock today.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. You can also check out that schedule, at least for today. I don't know how long we're going to be doing this because we've kind of gone back and forth as a team with what we're going to do here exactly. But if you go to the Discord and you go into the upper left hand corner, or not upper left hand corner necessarily. It's below the boost. It's below the graphic, but it says events. There's 4 events left for the day, and it talks about exactly when we're starting everything. So if you go there, you can see that the member only podcast starts in 20 minutes. You can see that 30 to lock is going to be at 12:50. You can see the opening day slate lock and everything. Lots of stuff there. Kind of tells you what we're doing for the day. Not necessarily saying that's going to be an everyday thing, but at least for today, where it's a little bit of a wacky schedule compared to what we're going to be usually expecting for MLB, that is where you can check it out. So make sure to do that. Jared just posted the link and posted the Underdog play, so please go sign up. We love our friends over there at Underdog, and we would greatly appreciate it. And then you can go place a bet right away. I mean, we just gave you one right now on the show, and I feel pretty confident in that one for sure. All right, Jared, let's get out of here. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.